Welcome back, listeners, to another episode in our month-long coverage of the ODSTs. This episode is packed with lots of information on the onboarding process of freshly graduated troopers, now joining their new units and command, what is expected of them, and later, what is expected of senior personnel taking in these freshly trained Helljumpers. Lots to discuss today. Because training is one thing, but joining a new squad and actually deploying into combat is another. Entirely, right?
Let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into something pretty intense, a process most people probably never even think about. We're looking at how an already elite soldier gets integrated, really absorbed, into a top-tier shock unit. This isn't basic training stuff, not at all. We're talking about turning a certified warrior, someone who's already proven, into a seamless part of an orbital drop shock trooper detachment. An ODST unit.
That's absolutely right. And the core material we're digging into today, it's basically a field manual outlining this whole transition. It's fascinating, really. A kind of masterclass in, well, risk management and building cohesion under extreme pressure. An ODST, an orbital drop shock trooper, they're trained to be highly independent operators. They can drop into the hottest zones, even alone if they have to. But inside that detachment, they have to function like a single entity, one lethal organism.
Yeah, and there's this line, this corporal's maxim from the 1st Shock Troop Detachment that just sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? You do not join the black alone, you are taken into it. It nails that feeling. It's not like you just sign up and show up. It feels more like an assimilation, an institutional thing.
Exactly. Assimilation is a good word for it.
Yeah.
And our mission for this deep dive is to really dissect how that taking happens. How do they actually manufacture trust? How do they build that reliability, that almost synchronous action in situations where, let's be honest, failure means lives lost, not just, a bad quarterly report. So for you, the listener, think of this as a shortcut, a way to understand how these incredibly cohesive, high-stress teams handle that crucial first phase, that onboarding.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning, the moment of arrival.
Yeah.
Because Section 1 of this manual, it makes it crystal clear. Those first hours on the ship, or maybe a staging node, they aren't about combat readiness initially. They're about administrative precision.
Yeah.
Seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? But what's really striking is how immediately they tie that paperwork rigor to tactical necessity. It's not just bureaucracy for its own sake. The manual is explicit. It basically says administrative screw-ups now. They lead directly to logistics failures later during operations. So if your records aren't perfect, if something's missing, your supply line, your support, it's already compromised before you even think about stepping into a drop pod.
Wow. Okay, so the trooper hits personnel intake immediately, and they need, physical orders, records assignment confirmation, uploading medical and psych docs, and critically, uploading mission hashes. Okay, that sounds like jargon we need to break down. What exactly is a mission hash?
Right, good question. A mission hash, in this context, think of it like a tactical encryption key. It's a secure chunk of data that validates who the trooper is operationally and what level of access they have for this specific deployment they're joining. It's the digital proof that says, yes, you belong here, and yes, you're cleared for the sensitive data related to this mission right now. Without the right hash, well, their HUD won't sync up properly, their comms won't link into the secure net. They're basically tactically useless until that's sorted.
Okay, so the admin clearance is the digital key. Got it. That makes immediate sense. And then there's security validation, involving an ONI liaison. ONI, Office of Naval Intelligence. That's serious business. High-level intelligence involvement right off the bat.
Oh, absolutely. Their presence is immediate. Non-negotiable, really.
Yeah.
The ONI liaison verifies the trooper's restricted access level and issues temporary access tokens. Keyword there is temporary. Access to the main detachment areas, the sensitive compartments, that's strictly limited until they complete all the background and clearance checks right there on site. It's all about controlling information flow. Compartmentalization from the second they arrive mitigates risk if, worst case, the new arrival is compromised or even just indiscreet.
And the equipment handover, you mentioned that. It's formalized. Trooper confirms. Signs for the standard kit, armor, helmet, HUD, weapons, IFAC, the individual first aid kit. But the manual stresses something really specific here. They must inspect every single item with the armor tech and note defects immediately. Why the emphasis on with the tech?
Yeah. Well, think about the implication. It puts the responsibility for equipment readiness squarely on the new trooper's shoulders right away. But critically, it's under expert supervision. You can't just glance at it. The tech is there. If you wait until, T-minus 5 minutes before a drop to say, hey, the magnetic lock on my rifle rack isn't working, you've just created a massive problem for everyone. making them record discrepancies in writing right then and there. That creates total accountability. It removes any ambiguity later if something fails. You can't blame it on faulty storage before you arrived or bad maintenance. It was checked, signed off.
Makes sense. Accountability from minute one. And once they clear that admin hurdle, the clock starts ticking immediately. The manual specifies a strict 2-hour deadline. 2 hours. From stepping onto the vessel to reporting to the line NCO, the non-commissioned officer for shipboard routine and duty roster. That's fast.
It's a significant stressor, absolutely. It's not just, okay, find your bunk. It's a psychological shock, too. You're immediately plunged into the unit's operational tempo. There's really no grace period, no time to decompress. You go from that almost sterile intake process straight into the operational flow of the unit.
And this culminates in the detachment brief. This sounds critical. And the instruction here is fascinating. Listen and do not interrupt. Absorbing unit context is your first tactical act. What are they absorbing? What's in this brief?
They're essentially downloading the unit's operational DNA in real time. The brief covers the current tasking, what the detachment is doing right now and why. Crucially, it reviews recent AAR highlights after action reviews. So they're immediately learning from the unit's recent mistakes and successes. What just happened? What did we learn? They also get their watch rotations, duty schedule. The key thing is, the trooper isn't there to contribute yet. No opinions, no bright ideas from training. Their job is just to absorb, internalize the unit's current state, its recent history, its immediate future. That context, that is the critical intelligence they need to survive the next few days.
Wow, it really sounds like those first 2 hours are deliberately designed to break their reliance on past training, maybe, force them to adapt instantly to this detachment's reality, like a highly structured disorientation process ending with, okay, now you're functional, go.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Exactly. You arrive trained to be capable. The detachment's job, starting minute one, is to make you relevant to them specifically.
Okay, so they've survived the admin onslaught. Now they face the command structure. Section 2 gets into this. Yeah, it's not straightforward, is it? An ODST detachment operating inside a Navy ship's hierarchy. That sounds potentially complicated, a dual structure.
It is complicated, and mastering it quickly is non-negotiable. You've got the internal detachment command tree. That's your direct tactical line. Starts with the detachment commander. They're responsible for tactical deployment discipline within the unit. Below them, the first sergeant, the senior NCO, your day-to-day point person for standards logistics, the daily grind.
Right. Those are the people making sure the troopers fight right and act right. But then you've got the ship's structure layered on top. Who are the key liaisons connecting these two worlds?
There are two crucial ones. First, the ship's command liaison, usually a naval officer. Their role is essentially mediation, resource management. They handle getting the detachment what it needs from the ship flight deck time, ordnance requests, coordinating insertion windows with the ship's schedule. They bridge the gap. Then you have the very specialized Navis-Speconi liaison. NavSpec is Naval Special Warfare. This liaison deals with the really sensitive stuff. High-level intelligence feeds, handling evidence brought back from missions, updating the detachment's tasking based on strategic shifts reported by ONI.
So, okay, the detachment CO tells you what the mission is, tactically. But the naval and ONI liaisons control how and when you get the ship's assets and critical intel to actually do it. And the manual says they have to memorize names, call signs, responsibilities within 24 hours. That's a test in itself, a cognitive stress test.
It absolutely is. Cognitive discipline under pressure. Because think about it, forgetting a key liaison's call sign in a firefight, that could mean you don't get air support, that could be fatal, and this awareness extends beyond people to places. Shipboard logistics and security. Understanding where you can and can't go, learning the difference between deck access, hangar access, detachment bay corridors. Clearance levels aren't uniform, you don't just wander around.
And the strict adherence to MCON emission control in certain areas, keeping quiet electronically and audibly. The manual mentions a loud joke. That's a stark example.
It is, because a seemingly harmless bit of chatter near a command center or an unauthorized ping from personal gear, it could give away the ship's position or hint at upcoming ops to an enemy listening in. It drills into the new trooper immediately. Your personal discipline impacts the strategic security of everyone on board. You are a potential point of failure if you can't follow MCON.
Makes sense. Beyond the structure and rules, though, there's this core philosophy driving ODST actions, command intent. Section 2 hammers this home. It says when orders mention command intent, you don't just follow the steps blindly. You have to interpret tasks against the objective. It's not a checklist.
This is huge. This is what elevates ODSTs, I think. Standard military procedure often emphasizes sticking rigidly to the plan, but, the saying is true. No plan survives contact with the enemy, especially not after dropping from orbit into chaos. Command intent demands, well, aggressive flexibility. Let's say the objective is seize Hill 405. The plan is cross the North Bridge. If that bridge is blown sky high just as you get there, a standard unit might halt, report, wait for new orders.
But the ODST trooper, thinking about the intent taking that hill, they're expected to figure out another way. Right then. Find a ford, scale a cliff, whatever it takes, without waiting for permission.
Precisely. The core habit they build is achieve the intent, achieve the objective, even if the plan, the means, completely falls apart. It demands critical thinking, judgment, initiative in the field, often cut off from higher command. That philosophy is absolutely essential for the kind of decentralized fighting inherent in orbital drop operations.
Which makes that 30-day race to competency, covered in Section 3, even more intense. Because they're not just learning new procedures, they're learning to apply this flexible mindset using the detachment's specific tools and methods.
Exactly. They have to shift gears fast. From the general doctrine they learned over maybe 12 months of tough training to the unit's specific SOP's standard operating procedures. Doctrine gives you the foundation, the theory of what makes a good trooper. SOPs tell you how this detachment fights on the ship using these tactics right now.
Can you give some examples? Where does that variation really show up? How different can SOPs be?
Oh, it can be everywhere. Really specific things like radio brevity codes. The unit might have unique two-word calls for complex maneuvers that you just wouldn't learn anywhere else. Hand signals might have local dialects, specific signals for urban warfare that this unit perfected. Even something as basic as how you reload your weapon might be slightly different, optimized for speed with their specific armor setup, patrol timings, how they rotate watch slots. It all gets fine-tuned.
So the biggest risk for a new trooper is just assuming what they learned before applies here. The danger of assumption.
Absolutely. It's lethal. Assuming your old unit's way is the same here could cause a fatal hesitation or, worse, an interoperability error. The manual explicitly warns about differences in things like equipment polarity, maybe how HUD overlays are calibrated, armor settings. Imagine your HUD overlay is calibrated differently from your squad leaders. You call out a target, but your data doesn't match theirs. Chaos. That's why that mandatory gear check with an armor tech before the first mission isn't just procedure. It's ensuring your gear literally speaks the same tactical language as everyone else's.
Okay, so the early training focus, those drills in the first 30 days, they're not just about getting good at the drills themselves. It's more like reconnaissance for the trooper.
That's exactly how the manual frames it. Reconnaissance. These exercises reveal how the detachment actually fights in practice under pressure. It shows the troopers the real-world application of the SOPs, not just the theory. How does this unit move, sheet, communicate when things get messy?
So what kind of drills are we talking about? You mentioned cohesion drills. Sounds like they're forcing synchronization.
They are, deliberately. They'll run timed bounding drills, how the team moves under simulated fire, leapfrogging, synchronized suppression sequences, everyone laying down fire precisely on cue, then stopping on cue. Complex breach drills, blowing a door and entering a room, calibrated to the microsecond based on how this detachment does it. It's about training out individual rhythm and imposing a single unified operational tempo.
And being ship-based, they have to nail insertion extraction specific to that vessel.
Right. Mastering how to rig themselves into the Pelican transport for rapid deployment. Understanding the precise timing for hitting the landing zone, LZ protocols. What are the crash procedures specific to this ship's configuration? Plus the mundane but critical stuff. Maintenance, quick armor swap drills if a suit gets damaged, field repair basics, and, maybe surprisingly important, strict discipline about battery recharges. A dead HUD or comms unit because you forgot to charge it, that's unforgivable negligence.
And medical procedures, too, they have to be specific to the unit and ship.
Yeah, the medical SOPs. Where are the shared first aid kits, the IFAKs, stored on this vessel? What are the exact timings to get access to the ship's medbay? And critically, what's the precise format for reporting casualties for TASEVAC tactical evacuation? Getting wounded troopers off the battlefield and back to the ship, use the wrong format, you give slightly wrong coordinates, you delay that medevac, and delays cost lives.
So all of this, the tactics, the medical stuff, maintenance procedures, it all points to one goal. Command expects you to be competent in your specific role, your specialty, within 30 days. That seems incredibly demanding.
It is a phenomenal demand, and honestly, I suspect that 30-day window is partly psychological too. It forces intense focus, immediate prioritization. It's a tool to ensure the trooper is never, ever relaxed or complacent during that critical bedding in period. As much a conditioning tool as a hard deadline.
That pressure, that intensity, it leads perfectly into Section 4,
Mm-hmm.
how they actually build trust. Because
Yeah.
doing all this so fast under so much stress,
Mm-hmm.
how do you build that deep trust needed for an elite team?
Well, the manual is clear. It's not left to chance. It's institutional socialization. Trust isn't just, a warm, fuzzy feeling here. It's engineered. It's a verifiable outcome of specific behaviors and rituals.
And the prime example seems to be the drop bay ritual. Describe that. Why is it called a cohesion accelerator?
Okay, so this is a very short, often silent sequence right before they deploy, right before stepping into the pods. It might involve a synchronized breath count, everyone taking a slow, deep breath together. Instantly aligns everyone's internal state. Then, a focused helmet check. Seal's good, comms active, everyone confirms. And finally, maybe a single line, standardized readout of the mission intent. Just a crisp reminder. It takes seconds, literally seconds. But it forces every single trooper into the same mental space. Shared focus, shared readiness. It's a nonverbal pact. We're all here. We're ready. We know the goal. Powerful stuff.
And that sense of interdependence, it's built into the everyday tasks too, the shared maintenance.
Absolutely. Things like cleaning weapons together, polishing armor, standing watch over gear being serviced. These aren't punishments. They're deliberate trust-building activities. If I watch you meticulously clean your rifle, I gain confidence that your weapon won't jam when I need your covering fire. If I help you check your armor seals, I know you're protected. You develop this visceral understanding. My survival depends on the person next to me doing their job, maintaining their gear, just as much as it depends on me doing mine.
Which feeds right into the unit's culture around failure. This might be the most surprising part of the integration of the AAR culture. After-action reviews, blunt, immediate, and the rule, never hide failure.
Yeah, this really flips conventional thinking, doesn't it? In most places, people try to cover up mistakes, protect their image. Here, candor over perfection. That's the mantra. If you made a small mistake, say, you admit you forgot to charge a secondary sensor battery. Okay, own it immediately. The team documents it, maybe adjusts the procedure, learns from it, moves on. Trust actually increases.
Because hiding even a small mistake, means you're introducing an unknown risk, a weakness the team doesn't know about and can't plan for.
It's seen as a betrayal of trust. Owning the mistake, even if it's embarrassing, that shows you value the team's success and safety over your own ego. Hiding it suggests the opposite. And that's just unforgivable in this environment. It builds trust faster to admit a flaw than to pretend you're perfect.
And they formalize support, too. New troopers get a battle buddy, an NCO, or maybe just an experienced peer, for practical help but also social navigation.
Exactly. That buddy is the first line of defense against the isolation and stress. They're the go-to for dumb questions, for navigating the unwritten rules. Beyond that, the manual mentions mentorship clinics. These sound less formal, senior troopers sharing their hard-won tricks of the trade.
Like favorite break glass solutions, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's the tribal knowledge, the stuff not in the manuals. Little hacks for making demolitions work better in weird conditions, or ways to jury-rig equipment that failed, sightwear tricks for low light. It's that practical, battlefield-tested wisdom passed down directly, invaluable stuff.
And it's not just about receiving help. There's an individual responsibility to the team. Proactive assistance is expected.
Yes. The culture values people who prevent failure, not just fix it. So if you see something off with your teammates' gear, a loose strap, a small crack in their armor plate, or if they look overly fatigued, maybe dehydrated, you have to report it. It's considered a duty. Ensuring your teammate is 100% is as important as ensuring you are. Everyone is a quality control check for everyone else.
And linking back to that candor culture, they must communicate weakness early. Fatigue, injury, mental strain. Hiding it is the ultimate no-no.
Because if you hide an injury, the team thinks they have your full capability when they don't. That's dangerous. If you're hitting a wall mentally, the command structure needs to know so they can manage it. Maybe assign you a less critical role for a bit. Schedule recovery time. Hiding it means you're prioritizing yourself over the mission's effectiveness. And that erodes trust faster than anything.
It really sounds like the whole system is designed to break down that lone wolf mentality, maybe. Replace it with a brutally pragmatic sense of mutual reliance.
I think that's exactly right. You have to adopt the unit's specific slang, their brevity codes, it's their language, and speaking it fluently builds cohesion, speeds things up under fire. You have to balance being individually capable, they trained you for that, with being utterly dependable as part of the team. That's the transition.
Okay, Section 5, the logistics of survival. Pre-mission readiness. This is where personal discipline really becomes tactical,
Right.
especially cooped up on a ship.
Definitely. Living in close quarters for potentially months. Personal habits get amplified. Hygiene and health are paramount. Confined spaces are breeding grounds for infection. So strict hygiene isn't just encouraged, it's enforced, including specific quarantine protocols after missions involving potential biohazards. Think about it. Strict washdowns, suit isolation procedures. They have to prevent one localized contamination from taking out the whole detachment.
And the physical toll, repeated orbital drops. That needs specific nutrition and recovery strategies, right? More than just MREs.
Oh, yeah. The manual talks about needing rations high in electrolytes, specific proteins to support bone density and muscle recovery. The G-forces, the impact, it puts incredible strain on the body over time. Physical training, PT, isn't generic either. It's mission-focused, like ruck mobility being agile even with a heavy pack, explosive power for getting out of the drop pod fast under fire, and respecting recovery cycles. Pushing through exhaustion isn't heroic, it's creating a liability. Leaders expect troopers to manage their recovery.
That extends to mental health as well. The manual points out using embedded counselors proactively.
Which is crucial. Leadership gets it. Cumulative stress, trauma. It increases the risk of bad decisions exponentially in combat. There might still be some peer stigma, sure, that exists everywhere. But the command structure actively encourages, even mandates, seeking help early. They'd much rather manage a trooper's stress proactively than deal with the catastrophic consequences of a breakdown during an operation.
So all this prep, admin, physical, mental, it all leads to this one critical moment. The 10-point new trooper checklist. Right before their first live mission, this is their personal responsibility. Failure is not an option.
It's the final gate. And it's meticulous. It forces them to personally verify critical systems. Let's hit some highlights that show that integration focus. Number 1, armor fit and seal check. Done with a tech, confirming no leaks, essential for surviving the drop itself.
And HUD sync to the detachment time token. We talked about mission hashes for identity. This is about time synchronization. Every trooper's clock, their HUD timer, perfectly aligned to the second.
Exactly. Prevents timing errors in coordinated actions. Then weapons function check. Not just is it loaded, but checking the zero on the sights, the gas system, the electronic safeties, total function check. And this one's telling, IFAC stocked and the initial tourniquet applied to webbing, not packed away. It's right there on the outside of their gear, ready to be ripped off and used instantly.
Wow, pre-applying the tourniquet to the webbing, that speaks volumes about focusing on speed for casualty care. And finally, the Pelican rigging test, harness, quick release toggles, making sure they can get out fast.
You fail any point on this checklist. You find out your harness is frayed or your comms aren't linked as the drop pod door is closing. You've just halted the entire launch sequence. You've forced the team to shift focus from the mission to fixing your preventable mistake. That kind of last-minute unreliability. That's the ultimate sin in this culture.
The manual also flags common mistakes to avoid. We hit on hiding errors, but the danger of customization. Why is modifying personal gear such a problem?
Because standardization is life. Customization introduces unknown variables into a system that relies on perfect interoperability. A trooper slaps on some non-standard optic they like or tweaks their comms unit without getting it approved by the techs. They might create a deadly conflict. Maybe that cool optic doesn't mesh with the team's targeting network. Maybe their modded comms drains power too fast and dies mid-mission. Any customization has to be rigorously tested and approved by the unit techs. Otherwise, you risk becoming the point of failure because your gear doesn't play nice with everyone else's.
And, circling back to the beginning, neglecting those basic shipboard duties, being late for watch, slacking on maintenance, it just broadcasts unreliability, undermines everything.
Totally. It creates a pattern, a narrative.
Yeah.
If you can't be trusted to show up on time for guard duty, how can anyone trust you to cover their back under fire? Trust is the currency here, and you lose it through small carelessnesses long before you might lose it through, say, cowardice.
Okay, final stretch. Section 6. Mission conduct, evaluation, career trajectory. They've done the prep, passed the checks. Now they have to perform under fire.
And there's this interesting paradox for early missions. Be predictable in procedure, unpredictable in movement, meaning you execute the unit's SOPs, how you reload, how you move in formation, how you communicate flawlessly, predictably. So your team knows exactly what you're going to do, but your personal movement, how you use cover, your firing cadence, that needs to be dynamic, varied, unpredictable to the enemy. Makes you a harder target.
So systemic predictability combined with individual tactical unpredictability. And they need to apply all those training cues instantly. Cadence breaths, checklists, comms, discipline. Speak the unit's language fluently from the moment of impact.
Absolutely. And the learning accelerates under fire. During learning in combat AIRs, that candor is still key, but precision is vital. The manual says offer precise observations, not my gear felt weird, but my grenade release ring jammed exactly 3 seconds after pulling the pin. That's actionable data the techs can use. Vague complaints are useless.
And are encouraged to volunteer for extra tasks, ammo runs, perimeter watch, to get more exposure.
Yeah, maximize input, accelerate the learning curve, show initiative, demonstrate reliability in different roles quickly.
And all this performance is watched closely during the probationary period, 90 to 120 days, the official assessment window.
Right, they're looking at 3 main things. How well did you integrate tactically? How disciplined are you with your gear and procedures? How reliable are you on watch and ship duties? But the real core metric, the one that tells you if the integration really worked, peer trust ratings, gathered through anonymous evaluations.
Anonymous peer ratings. That's fascinating. Command assesses competence, but peers assess reliability, trustworthiness.
That's the crucial insight, I think, and maybe something other high-performing teams could learn from. Your squad mates, the people whose lives literally depend on you, they know. The anonymity allows for brutal honesty, bypassing rank or politics. It measures trust right there, at the sharp end. Do the people next to you truly rely on you when it counts?
But isn't there a risk there? Could people just try to be overly nice, socially engineer good ratings, rather than focus on being tactically sound?
That's a fair question. But I think in this specific high-stakes environment, that kind of faking it just doesn't hold up. Sure, being a decent person helps. Proactive assistance, candor, that's valued. But if you're friendly, but you keep messing up drills, or your gear isn't right, or you hesitate under pressure, your peers will see it. The anonymous rating reflects dependability under fire, not just likability. The shared danger filters out the purely social maneuvering pretty quick. It has to be genuine, lethal cohesion.
Okay, that makes sense. Dependability, not just popularity. So if they pass this tough probation, what's next? Career ladders open up.
They do. Opportunities emerge. Maybe the fireteam leader track, which means NCO promotion, or specialized training, becoming an advanced medic, or working as that Navi-Spec liaison. Some might eventually be selected to go back as instructors, train the next generation coming through the pipeline.
And one last responsibility the manual mentions, mentoring as a duty. Even a relatively new trooper is expected to help mentor those coming in after them.
Yes. Teaching reinforces your own learning. It solidifies your integration. By explaining the SOPs, the culture, to someone even newer, you embed it deeper in yourself. Plus, it builds redundancy in the unit, strengthens that trust network from the bottom up, ensures the culture persists even with turnover.
What a process. From certified killer to integrated team member, it's not just adding skills, is it? It's like surgically altering habits, replacing individual tendencies with a shared, specific operating system.
That's a good way to put it. Integration is deeply social, deeply cultural, as much as it is tactical or technical. You have to discard the generalities from training and immediately adopt the specific administrative habits, the procedures, the behaviors of this team right now.
So let's loop back to where we started. That closing maxim. You were forged to drop alone. In the detachment, you learn to make that solitary power part of a blade. You bring the individual strength at the forging, but the detachment shapes it, integrates it, makes it part of a larger, sharper weapon.
Exactly. In that transformation, that whole process we've unpacked, it leaves us with a final thought, a provocative question for you, the listener. We've seen how this elite military unit uses deliberate apprenticeship, structured integration, even anonymous peer ratings to build absolute reliability under life or death pressure. So the question is, how is reliability built in your team, your organization?
Are you just hoping people trust each other? Or have you actually engineered systems where things like candor, like administrative precision, are treated as non-negotiable necessities? And if anonymous peer trust is the ultimate measure for an ODST, how does your team really measure dependability where it truly matters, at the point of action? Something to think about.
Join us again next episode, where we examine the flip side of things. What senior personnel are expected when taking in these new troopers? How to make sure they are effectively integrated and their responsibilities. All this and more here on The Deep Dive.